So I look at the phone or I look at you?
You can just look at me.
Okay.
Just pretend like it's not even there.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so I have some questions written down, but I mean it's just kind of like you can talk about anything. It's more just the project's about the 60s and the 70s. And it doesn't have to just, be about the Vietnam War. It can be about just anything else like you felt like was happening in society. Like I know you were really busy, but so like did you hear about like protests happening against the war?
Naomi, first of all, I want to make you aware that I came over here to the United States to be married in the 60s, okay? So everything, it was like exciting, new for me to learn a new culture, the language, and right away we have a family. But even though my husband always was aware of what was happening, and he loved to see the news. And regarding about the Vietnam War, because I was so busy learning about all these new roles in my life, what I can tell you is that one of the memorable things, it was about one time in the school, the police in the college, they have a protest, and the police came, and it took a while for them to disperse the people, but in the process, they killed 4 students. What happened about that, I cannot tell you because I wasn't following the news. Another thing that I remember is that the society, or at least over here in California, they were very against the war. The war, because it was a lot of soldiers dying. They didn't see no results. They didn't see nothing that we were gaining, sending more people over there. And it's when the youth, and I can say youth maybe between 17 and 25, they start making a protest. And I remember very vividly that is when they started what I told you,
the hippies?
The hippies.
Yeah.
The hippies, and I don't know if they took an opportunity to express themselves, or if it because it was really that they were against about the Vietnam War. And what other thing I can tell you? The government continue insisting that they wanna continue being there and see if this can finish the war, but nothing, no results. One memorable picture in my mind is, and I don't know if they have a name, is a girl that she's running naked, and all streets, and in the back you can see all the disasters that they were happening at that time in Vietnam. What else I can tell you that I remember? Among my friends, it was no families that they have young kids going to the war, but they start thinking that the government wasn't thinking about how many people they were dying, and we were saying that we are going to be sure that our kids never go and serve the government. But besides that, Naomi, I cannot tell you.
No, that's
What else?
really great information. Like,
Okay.
that's perfect. And did you? How often do you feel like you heard about like people talking about the war? Like, did you feel like it was every day, like in the news, or just every now and then people would mention it?
Well, my husband loved to see every night the news, so we used to listen what was happening, and being so upset of not solving this problem. At that time I was going to at high school learning the English, because when I came over here to the United States, I knew very little, but I wanted to learn the language. And in a school, even though we were adults, kind of like we said, gosh, we are not in our country, this is happening. So it was like a fear, especially because we all have young kids.
Yeah, so fear that the war, like, they might someday be drafted.
Yeah, not really drafted because they were little babies,
Yeah.
but we thought about what, not knowing how what was happening in the world, but we were thinking, what about if Vietnam attacked the United States?
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
but because we didn't know the government or how it works, but that was one of our fears at the adult school.
Yeah, that must have been so scary.
Yes. So, do you have another question?
Yeah. Let me check. Did you, this is kind of specific, but did you hear or like feel any effects from the civil rights movement, or did you ever feel like you may have been discriminated against because you had just come from Mexico?
Even though up to this point, probably I have 65 years in the United States and never felt discriminated. But I cannot tell you if it is the confidence that you feel that you are immigrated the right way with your paperwork and everything, or if it because I don't know, but I can tell you some people from my culture, they feel that there is a lot of discrimination, but I never felt that. Maybe because I was very secure in this country, and I'm so happy to being able to have the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen.
That's so nice to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another thing I was wondering about is if you heard anything about like Cesar Chavez and that whole movement and the boycott of grapes.
Yes, and the first time being Latina, I should knew better. But again, I can tell you, when you are raising a family, they are going to school, your focus is how I'm going to educate my kids. But the first time that I hear about that, it's one day I went to the market and it was a protest making our people not to buy grapes because of the abuse of how they treat the people who was raising the farms and the immigrants working, cutting the fruit and picking up the vegetables. That was the first time that I hear about that. Later, I started listening about in the radio and how even Kennedy, I think, support Cesar Chavez and how they accomplish to being able to defend the people who was working in the farms.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that he supported that also.
Yeah, Kennedy helped Cesar Chavez, and he was in several meetings. I'm not too sure, but I think one time, I don't know if Robert Kennedy or John Kennedy were in a protest walking with the immigrants and Cesar Chavez.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So now you know that there is there is a special day for Cesar Chavez. We have a street name on his name, and giving the honor of what he did for the people who works in the farms.
Yeah. I think that's mostly it. I mean, that was. You say you were busy, but that's so much great stuff to know. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's surprising to hear that, like, even though you had like 4 boys and had just come here, that you were still hearing about what was going on. That it was such a big, like,
I think it's due to my husband. Well, he was an educated person, and he was more into the mainstream, okay? Because even though he being Mexican American, a lot of people, they prefer to stay with the Latinos, with people who living in the cities where they live. But thanks to him, he decided for us to live in the communities, so that way our kids can become proud of being Mexicans, but at the same time being very proud to be born in this country.
Yeah, because that's definitely true. I think a lot of Latinos like try to bind together in communities, which can be really great, for the culture, because they don't lose that part of them. But I mean, it's also important to understand
Yeah,
all
and
local.
like I said, thanks to my husband, that he make us involved into the culture, because at the beginning when I came over here to the United States, it's so difficult to come to a country not knowing the language, living in an Anglo environment, and not being able to communicate. My husband was very conscious of making us aware of the culture, what was happening. He exposed us to several things, sometimes good things, sometimes bad things, to make us aware. So in the future we can protect ourselves.
That's amazing. That's so great. Alright, well, I think that's it.
That's all. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Naomi.
Thank you so much for talking with me.
So hopefully it will be of any good. The little bit information.
That wasn't a little, that was a lot. That was a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes.
So nice of you to